the Sick Podcast, Steelers Crazy. We're happy to be joining you. Of course, we're sad the season is over. However, it's never really over. I know Jordan and I mentioned that a lot in NFL land and certainly Steeler land because offseason is already here. NFL draft right around the corner. We're going to talk a little bit about that today with one of our new great writers contributing over here to the Sick Podcast. First of all, Jordan, how are you, man? Good to see you. You're switching it up today, going with the white hoodie. I like that.
Yeah, me and Sammy didn't even plan this. I seen in the control room that he had it on. So I guess great minds think alike. Shout out to our guy Sammy for holding it down. And yeah, man, everything's good. Just we're going all year talking Steelers. I know Brian Flores is in Cleveland right now, so I hope that he makes a good decision and doesn't go there. I would love to see him go somewhere, but we're going to talk. So Sammy, why don't you run it? Steelers Crazy, Sick Podcast, JY Mike, and we have a special guest. Welcome into the Sick Writing team. Let's get it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Harris Smith shields. Flacco Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
All right, we're working on building an empire here over at the Sick Podcast. We're not just a show anymore. We've now got a blog rolling as well, and we're happy to introduce some writers along the way who also follow the Steelers, are crazy about the Steelers, and people obviously in the know who are going to break some things down. Had a great story, great write-up the other day, and I'm happy to bring him on to talk Pittsburgh football. Andreas Antoine joining us today. What's going on, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for bringing me on.
Of course. Let's tell a little bit about your story. We were talking off air there a little bit. You're up in Montreal, but you're a big Steelers fan, right?
Yeah, it's ever since I was like 6-7 years old. I remember watching that first Super Bowl that I saw where we beat the Seahawks. My father was a Steelers fan, so I was indoctrinated since then, and ever since.
Smart man right there. Smart man.
Yeah, he's done some good things. It's one of them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, shout out your pops, no doubt. Good way to start your first appearance here on the Sick Podcast, Steelers Crazy. So I mentioned you wrote a tremendous piece this week, and like I said, we're really happy to have you contributing to the show. I want everybody to head on to our Twitter, the Sick Podcast, Steelers Crazy. Give that a read. But if you're not able to give that a read, we're going to talk about it a little bit here today. It's called 5 Actions the Steelers Should Take This Offseason. A list of some items, of course, that Andreas thinks would benefit the team moving forward into 2023 season. So let's start with a pressing one. Of course, there's been a lot of talk about Matt Canada. Will he, won't he be back? I think most fans, if they had their choice, would certainly pick the latter there. Andreas, from your perspective and what you wrote, what are your thoughts? And obviously the Steelers don't part ways with coaches very often.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. They don't fire. They most likely like to see the contracts expire. They did that with Fichtner. They did that with Butler, where he just retired at the end of this contract. A lot of fans don't like Canada, and I could see their point. Look, at the beginning of the season, it was very rough, right? It was looking bad. They also had Trubisky in. Mm-hmm. It was very stop-start, clunky. But I think after the bye week, after Deontay Johnson had his sideline spat, which is totally normal, I guess, for a frustrated receiver, they got better. It didn't really show on the points per game, but the flow was better. They were able to get 10-play drives, 12-play drives that ended in touchdowns, ended in positive points. Could it be better? No doubt. Do I think he's coming back? Unfortunately, I think so.
Wow. And I want to clarify for everybody. Andreas said Steeler fans hate Canada. He's not talking about his country. He's talking about Matt Canada. Jordan, do you think Canada will be back?
If I was a betting man, I would say yes. But I think that we talked about in the previous episode that the inevitable is that he's not going to be in the future long-term plans. but it could affect Pickett because, we're not in the locker room. We had Chris Wormley on here and we're able to pick his brain a little bit this year about, some of the stuff that goes on in the locker room. But those guys, I'm sure they're a tight-knit group. And I think that, one more season, I don't think that, he's going to set the world on fire and share his job. I will say that the headset was not working the few times it seemed like when Kenny Pickett had those game-winning drives. So I will say that. But if I was
Weird
a betting man,
coincidence.
yeah, I can't hear you. It's nothing. I never root against anyone, the coaching staff, but I mean, it just is what it is, man. Looking at the guy's resume, I don't know how he landed where he did. But I mean, like I said, if I was a bet man, I would say Matt Canada will be back. And we were talking about Matt Canada because we love our Canadian friends.
All right, let's transition a little bit. I want to talk about depth. Obviously, in the NFL, it's critical for any team. So many injuries, so much parity. You see it right now with teams limping into the playoffs with injured quarterbacks, of course, and offensive linemen down. You talked about two positions specifically for the Steelers in regard to depth, and those were offensive line and tight end. Tell me about it.
Well, we got really lucky. Like, we're the only team in the NFL to have one offensive line starting combination, which was Chucks, Daniels, Cole, Dotson, and the left tackle is escaping my mind right now. Dan Moore, thank you. Three of those players played 100% of the snaps, so they never left the field. Mason Cole played like 95%, and I think Okorafor missed like 1 or 2 snaps. Like, that's like totally uncommon in the NFL. Behind them, there's not a lot of depth. Like, they have like J.C. Hassenauer, like we already know, like he could play like anywhere interior, but it's just playing a couple of games like in a row. You don't really want that. They had Green, who was absolutely abysmal. Like, I hate to like call out another man's job or anything, but
he's probably not watching. He's probably not watching.
He is a friend of the show. He is a great guy, but yeah, he definitely is. He was inactive all year.
He was inactive all year, and last year he was our starting center. Like, that just goes to show like the trust that Tomlin has in Kevin Green. So like, I think we have to, like, in free agency or through the draft, like, we need to get at least like another 2 like offensive line to supplement the starting 5 we have. And for tight end, like, Pat Freiermuth is our guy. Like, we know that. He could get better as a blocker, but that's not his game. But we need like a Matt Spaeth equivalent. Connor Hayward isn't that guy. Like, he's going to be that flex tight end. Put him out to space, let him go down the seam like he's done 2-3 times this season. That's what he excels at. But like, we need a blocking tight end, and we just don't have one on the roster right now.
I love that you threw out the name Matt Spaeth. What a name just to fire out there in Steelers lore. And for anybody out there who might be saying, oh, what about Zach Gentry? He's an unrestricted free agent. So certainly no guarantee that he's back with the Steelers next season. Might seek an opportunity elsewhere to get more reps, knowing that Pat Freiermuth is always going to be blocking him. I'll jump in on that quickly, and then we'll transition to the next topic. Totally agree with you. They did get really lucky in terms of the offensive line. That never, ever, ever happens. They got a lot better as the season progressed, but the depth there, of course, is critical. They'll draft at least 1 or 2 guys. I think we can all make that assumption. I'm going to mention outside linebacker. I think this is a position that obviously you saw Alex Highsmith step up and have a great season, even when TJ Watt wasn't playing.
Pro Bowl snub.
But behind Highsmith, man, they struggled. Malik Reed was not good. I think that's a position you look back a year and a half ago, and they addressed it. They brought in Melvin Ingram. They said, the guys get hurt on the outside here. We need a stud to come in if TJ Watt does go down or Alex Highsmith does go down. And they just didn't have that this season. And so I think that's critical for depth more so than finding another real impact player who's obviously going to wouldn't start at outside linebacker. All right.
And lastly,
yeah, go ahead, please.
Sorry, I'd like to say they also like something that people don't really think about, but like a backup QB You know,
sure.
like not I wouldn't draft one because we already have a young quarterback. Like we need a veteran backup quarterback. You know, Ben had Charlie. Uh, who does Kenny have? You know, Trubisky doesn't want to be here. Like he made those comments, which it's totally fine. You know, like he wants to start. I don't think Rudolph wants to come back either. So the only person in the clubhouse right now is second year Kenny Pickett. You know,
I threw a question out there on Twitter today, and I asked. I compiled the list of unrestricted free agents at quarterback, and I said one of these guys has to be a Pittsburgh Steeler next year because you can't go into season with one quarterback, obviously. And I said, who would you want, and who do you think it's going to be? And the answer that I received the most was Taylor Heineke, the Commanders quarterback from this past season. So I think that would be really interesting. The guy's a bit of a baller. Interesting story, but Mason Rudolph is gone. I don't think Trubisky is going to get a starting spot, so I'm not 100% sure, but his cap hit is pretty high, so I could see him being high.
Who do you want?
I like Heineke personally. I think Bridgewater's an interesting name, who's always sitting out there. Just a kind of, a consistent average.
Bring back Josh Dobbs.
Yep, Josh Dobbs potentially.
Oh, that's a good.
I don't think he's an unrestricted free agent, though. I don't know. He didn't come up on that list, so I'm not 100% sure if he's on a reserve future for another year with the Titans, but I thought he was a UFA, so I would take him back, maybe even as a third string. They're going to need two.
I like Heineke also, but I don't think he's coming. Like he's started over in Washington. I don't think he's coming to Pittsburgh to back up Kenny. I think he's going to go to a place where he has a chance to start. Like I'm just throwing it off like the Jets. Like where he actually has a good chance of starting. I think whoever has to come has to know like they're backing up. Like a Chad Henne type of guy. I like Joshua Dobbs. He's been in the system. He's a smart guy. Like he seems like a good teammate.
Case Keenum was another name a couple people threw out there who I think
I think a lot of people thought that we were going to go for him to start this the Mitch Trubisky with this year with Keenum. I was just going to maybe Fitzmagic can come out of retirement. I think he got one more in him. He's played on almost every team.
Oh, I love that. All right, one way to find impactful players is through the draft, obviously. The Steelers, fortunate, they have 3 picks in the top 50. Shout out the Bears there. Thank you so much for that first pick.
Thank you, Adam Rank.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. No shade, Claypool, good guy, but that pick is huge. 3 picks in the top 50. What are you expecting Omar Khan to look at?
They need O-line depth. I wouldn't do that in the first 2 picks. Maybe the 49th pick, they take an offensive line. I would personally go after someone in the trenches on the defensive side. Hayward's a beast. He's always been. He's a legend. But they need someone else alongside. Most likely, I go for a big plugger, like a nose tackle type of guy because Alu, 35, I think he's done. I don't think he's coming back. Montravius Adams isn't a starter, in my opinion. And they've just been shuffling throughout the last couple of years. Ever since Alulu got injured, they haven't had their solid guy. They've had Carlos Davis and his twin brother, and it hasn't worked out. So I think pick 17 or pick 32 needs to be someone in the trenches, and then cornerback for that second pick.
Jordan, what do you think about your namesake, Jordan Addison?
I know about the connection that him and Kenny Pickett, and I think that we see what's going on with Jamar Chase and them, but I just don't think we need another wide receiver. If anything, if he's available, I would say Joey Porter Jr. And I'm not just saying that because his dad played for the team, the dude, and quite frankly, I don't like Penn State. I'm a Pitt guy, but I mean, the dude is an animal. I mean, I watched tape on him. I mean, he's what, and Devin Bush is going to be leaving, Highsmith needs to get paid. They need to give him a blank check, straight up. He just really outperformed everyone this year. And then hopefully TJ Watt can stay healthy and you just build around that. And yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest things in the offseason for me, I think we still need some offensive line depth. And like he said, I mean, just some guys on the DN, whatever we can get it. It's always what's available. I mean, who would have thought Kenny Pickett would have, came to the Steelers? I was, everyone was saying Malik Willis, and here we are, Kenny Pickett. I mean, it still feels like it's a dream because I watched him throughout his college career. I think I remember when when he was still on the board and you texted me and I was just like, is this real? Like, I had to pinch myself, but here we are, man. And I'm all for it.
Oh, you're a big Kenny guy?
Well, yeah, I mean, I covered him. I was able to, meet him a bunch of times, and, me and Mike, worked for Pitt a bunch over the years. So, we were in the locker room after the games and stuff. And honestly, man, I'll never forget this. And I'd said this before we were golfing like right before his senior year, the Heisman year. And it was like no one would have thought in a million years that he would be the next Pittsburgh Steeler quarterback.
Nobody bothered him or wanted to talk to him.
No,
really.
I mean, everyone. I remember it was me, him, and Jordan Addison in the bar eating hot dogs, and it was just like a normal day at a country club. And then now it's
he would get bombarded now.
Being a quarterback, yes, but being a quarterback in the NFL, let alone a Pittsburgh quarterback, it's there's no words to describe it. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Pittsburgh to come see a Steeler game, man. We got to get you out here.
We'll get you out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the furthest I've been is in the DMV area. I've been to Maryland. That's as far as I've been. But I've watched one Pittsburgh game actually this season. First Pittsburgh game I've ever been to. First NFL game I've ever been to was in Buffalo.
I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah. Tough one to be at,
we got pumped. It was it wasn't good. The drive there wasn't good.
Yeah, you got to see a
was
victory.
even worse. Yeah. But anyways, I don't know. I just think the Steelers have there's so much positions that they need to fill. Like even like a slot receiver. Like we have Pickens and Johnson. Okay, those are our X and our Y.
Mm-hmm.
But like, who's in the slot? Like Gunner. Probably not.
He ain't gonna be back.
Steven Sims is a good special teamer.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even say good special teamer. Like there's a lot of times where he's backpedaling. How many balls did he fumble and he picked up on the floor? Like he isn't like a solid third receiver. Like do we find a receiver like later in the draft? Like we've been doing that like over like many years. Steelers know how to draft receivers. They don't know how to draft cornerbacks, but they know how to draft receivers.
Yeah.
Right, like
Artie Burns. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, rush edge. Like we need that third linebacker. Like there's a lot of positions that need to fill with 7 or 8 draft picks as the Steelers are going in this year.
Yeah, and I think there's one ultimately that we hadn't talked about. My number one need is inside linebacker. We talked about Devin Bush being gone. Unfortunately, as you kind of look at the mock drafts and break down the availability of some of these guys coming out, it doesn't appear there's going to be an inside linebacker worthy of a top 20 pick, but that can change. And for me, regardless, it's still my top need overall, which is a fair transition into the free agency pool, especially their Steelers' own free agents who are due to be UFAs. I think we can already safely assume, like we did earlier in the show, Devin Bush won't be back. Tyson Alulu won't be back. I don't think Trubisky will be back. You can save a lot of cap space by cutting a bunch of these guys. Alulu, Malik Reed. But who are some guys, Andreas, that you would like to see back in black and gold?
I think our number one priority right now is you can't let Cameron Sutton walk out the door. Like, he is one of the best slot corners in the game.
He's solid. He was solid all year. I tweeted that like 6 times this year. I mean, he's not like the flashy guy, but he's consistent. And in the NFL, I feel like that's what you need. Especially
they did it with Mike Hilton, and maybe they learned their lesson. It can't.
Yeah, I totally agree. At the beginning, they walked him out wide, and he was playing as as a corner, and like that's not his game. And then they transitioned. They put him like as his slot where he prefers, and like the defense just was like one of the best defenses like after the bye week, and Cameron Sutton has like a huge part to play with that, especially those last games. That pick to end the game against the Raiders, like not many players can make that play on the ball.
Some great ones too in that first game against the Bengals. There's one I, of course, wouldn't forget, the Joe Burrow game. You would prioritize him over Terrell Edmonds?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of like big playability. Cameron Sutton is like the top priority. I would like Edmonds to come back. Like I'll pull in, like another comparison. Like he's the Ryan Clark to Minka. You know, they have that connection. He's like a 4-year starter. Like he's played like since he was a rookie. He's good. Like he's solid. Like he isn't the greatest and he isn't the worst. Like he's not going to let you down, but he's not going to bail you out of a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if we get him back for a decent signing, like he wants to stay, you know. But like I don't think we could blow the roof off with a Terrell Edmonds signing.
Yeah, I hear that. And Terrell Edmonds, I've always said, has been scrutinized way too much by fans and media who put him in this first-round pick box. You know, if he's a third-round pick and he plays at the level he has, people are like, this guy, what a steal, incredible player. And so I understand with, you know, high expectations comes a little more critique and more eyeballs on you at the end of the day. But he's been really solid. There's no doubt about it. Jordan, what about our buddy Robert Spillane? Would you bring him back?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he showed, you know, that he could, when he's called upon, he can, you know, come in and do what's asked of him. I don't think that he's going to, you know, be a game changer, but, you know, when someone goes down or, you know, when you're in a certain, you know, formation, he can come out there and give you what you need. And I think that, you know, he's affordable and I don't see why not. I mean, he's definitely, he was all over, you know, the field in a lot of these games this year. And I think that really stood out. Again, I don't think that, you know, he even said itself when he came on, he's like, I'm just a guy from Western Michigan, but I'm like, man, you know, even our guy Sammy was telling us when he was on the Titans, you know, they always thought he was a solid player. And I think that, you know, you want to have depth. It's just like our man Chris Wormley. I'm not sure what's going to happen with him, but he was the perfect example of that. When someone went down, he was the guy to step up and just really showed that he can be that player. And I really hope that the Steelers sign them. I'm not just saying that because, you know, he's friends with us. It's because that he's a solid player. And I really hope that, you know, tearing an ACL is no joke. So I hope that he heals 100%, and wherever he goes, we're going to be rooting for him. But I definitely hope that those two guys are back in black and gold.
For sure. All right. It's been a great show so far. Andreas Antoine, check him out on the sickpodcast.com, writing Steelers stuff. Got to get to his fifth bullet point before we depart. And I love this one. I'm sure everybody else was expecting this to be something other than rejoice, but take a deep breath, kind of look back and have some perspective on the season and celebrate what ultimately I think all three of us think was a successful season, right, Andreas?
Oh, absolutely. Like going into the season, no one would have thought that Steelers would have had a winning record. And I know like you don't hang the banner for winning records, but like having perspective, like when was the last time a team had a starting quarterback and finished with a winning record? You know, I'm not sure if you guys watched like Spy Kids when you guys growing up. Like one movie, like they're like, who's the guy? You know, they just like go on like, oh, I'm the guy. This is the guy. You're not the guy. And I think Kenny Pickett like is the guy.
He is him.
You know, like I think so. You know, and like half the league either has the guy and the other half is looking for the guy. And like I think we could count ourselves lucky that our transition was not as long as name the team. You know, the Colts, the Falcons, the Giants, maybe, you know, it took 4 years. Daniel Jones finally, in 5 years after Eli Manning, you know, so like I guess we're lucky like the Green Bay Packers where that transition was like seamless.
Well, they did say Kenny Pickett was the most pro-ready quarterback in the draft, so I guess, you know, we kind of found that out. And I think Mike tweeted it the other day. It's just like people tend to realize like there's not many successful rookie quarterbacks like that you go and win a Super Bowl and that sort of thing. So people like just like to say, oh, this is first they're talking about his hands, and they're talking about, you know, oh, look at his stats. And I'm like, dude, if you can, and no one's saying that the guy's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but if you have a great defense and he doesn't turn over the ball, which he improved each week, That's all you look for. And he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. Like, you're going to make mistakes. Tom Brady makes mistakes and throws interceptions. Hopefully he doesn't throw as much interceptions as Dak Prescott. But, I mean, honestly, man, I was blown away by the second half of the season. And he was battling concussions, which really, really did scare me. But, we're just going to keep the optimism going and hope that that doesn't happen again and they're not that serious. But the future is bright, man. You're going to always have the naysayers and the crybaby Steeler fans and the bandwagon Steeler fans. But at the end of the day, Mike Tomlin's a top 5 coach. Oh, the playoffs. That dude has two Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl trophy, and 16 winning seasons. That's unheard of. So for people, they can say what they want about him, man. And it's the Steelers are the Steelers. They're 9-8, man. It's a rebuilding year. If the Lions do that, they're going to hang a banner.
They're about to hang a banner. I respect that. They're going to be good, though. They're coming on quickly.
Yeah.
All right. No mistakes made here on this show. Always a lot of fun. Andreas, thanks, man. This was sick. Honestly,
my pleasure.
Can't wait for your writing. We're going to promote the crap out of it, and we're going to definitely have you on the podcast.
Appreciate you, man. And
more
look
time.
forward
Talk
to
to
it.
Steelers, man.
Good.
Thank
Thanks
you so
a lot.
much.
My
Great
pleasure.
stuff. Great stuff. All around. All right, we'll sign off, JY. It's been a good show.
You see all the diapers. Sorry about all the diapers back there. They're slowly dwindling down, but I didn't open my bathroom door to block that. So
I left my bathroom door open for the first
there
show.
You go.
So
I close mine, you open yours.
There's that. Yeah.
Just like I said.
No diapers.
All right.
Time soon.
All right. Well,
Good
this
stuff.
has been another episode of Steelers Crazy. Like I said, we're going to start having some amazing guests. We just had our new amazing writer. Welcome to the sick team, Andreas. And man, we're just going to be breaking down Steelers all year. Before you know it, it's going to be April, and we're going to have mock drafts out the wazoo. So just make sure you subscribe. Steelers Crazy, a sick production. Sammy, we'll see you next Tuesday.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.